Are you ready? Okay, we'll call this meeting of the Guam Election Commission to order. It is Wednesday, May 22nd. It is 5:34 p.m. and we are located here at the GEC conference room in the Oka building here in Tamuning. We're also live stream at the GEC website at gec.guam.gov/board. Certification of quorum, present, myself, Jerry Crisostomo, Chairman, Vice Chairman Joe Mafnes, Commissioner Ricky Orsini, Commissioner Joe Meno, Commissioner Benny Panala, Commissioner Tony Gumatauta, Commissioner Pat Seville. Also present is our Executive Director, Maria Pangilinan, and our Legal Counsel, Vince Camacho. Certification of public notice requirements. It was issued in the Guam Daily Post and the Guam Public Notice website on 5/15 and 5/17. It's located on page 2. Approval of agenda. I get a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Mr. Chair, I move that the agenda be approved as presented.
Okay, a motion to approve the agenda by Commissioner Gumatauta. Is there a second to that
I
motion?
second.
Second by Commissioner Orsini. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Moving on to item 4, election of an independent member of the Guam Election Commission. I open the floor for nominations for an independent member to the Guam Election Commission.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to nominate our esteemed colleague, Mr. Pat Seville, to the position of independent member.
Okay, there's a motion to nominate Patrick Seville as the independent member. Do you accept, Mr. Seville? Okay, is there a second to the
I'll
motion?
second.
Second by Commissioner Orsini. All those in favor of electing Commissioner Pat Seville as an independent member, say aye. Aye. Oppose? Abstentions? Okay. Congratulations. And you will be independent and bipartisan. Yes, you'll be sworn in after this. Okay, moving on to item 5, approval of the meeting minutes of May 9th. It's attached to your packet on page 7. I entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes subject to corrections.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Moved by Commissioner Joe Meno. Is there a second? Commissioner Gumatauta seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Okay. Moving on to correspondences. Maria?
On April 15th, BBMR sent us a note about our funding request for the $400,000. I'd like to discuss it back in further down. There was a bill that was introduced and heard by Senator Joe San Augustin to appropriate $400,000. So it was, we went to the public hearing last week, Wednesday. That's A. B, Mr. Clifford Ray Hackett wrote to us about write-in options. That's on page 13. Mr. Hackett picked up a packet for to run as a senator, but he did not file.
Okay, any questions? Okay, moving on to item C.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Oh, sure.
Do we have to approve the initials that he's requesting for? Is that a motion we would have to approve, or that would be acceptable?
We need a motion.
In the past, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Pat, do you remember about the names, what we did with the names of people that are requesting for write-ins? If you remember, I think we gave them 5 options. I don't.
That was
Yeah.
the last.
You know, actually, the very last thing we did, I believe, is we put the burden on the candidate. The law says that a write-in, whoever writes the name in has to write in a name with sufficient clarity that the commission can know who they're referring to. And rather than get in the business of saying what somebody's nickname is or what are acceptable names, the burden's really on the candidate to get his supporters to write her name. with sufficient clarity that we'll know that's who they mean.
So would we need a motion for this election on that same practice, I guess?
Excuse me, do we need to have a motion? I know that I echo what the independent said. Do we need to make a motion again for this one? No.
Or does it just carry
Oh,
on?
just
No,
carry
yeah,
on
we
what-
just carry on unless you want to change it.
No, because
Yeah.
every election year we go through this process, and that's
Yeah.
why Pat brought that issue up.
Yeah.
So no motion is required.
Okay.
Commissioner Meno, you had something? Because I know that in the past, at least for the write-ins, if Joe Cruz is being written in, but he's in different names, that's 5 different names, really. It's not, it doesn't fall under the same candidate. So that's the same issue we had with Agun Limtiaco, if you recall. You know, people put Frank Agun Limtiaco, some people put Agun Limtiaco, some people, but it only counted for Agun Limtiaco at 10 votes, and Frank Agun had 10 votes, and Alicia had 10 votes. They were all different votes. It didn't come as one vote for Frank Agun and Alicia at the time. I mean, that's the disadvantage of having 5 different names for the same person.
Didn't they have a sticker? And wasn't that accepted by the commission?
No.
No, they didn't have a sticker. It was in different versions, different name versions, if I recall.
The problem was that the machine, the tabulator wouldn't read the sticker.
Wouldn't read it, yeah.
Or the sticker would come off and gum up the tabulator.
Yeah, they had proposed a sticker, but I think it just didn't.
Yeah.
Would have been easier, yeah. So no motion is needed for this. We would just continue the same practice, okay. Okay, so item C.
So the public hearing for the requests for supplemental of 400,000 was on May 15th. Our testimony shows on page 46 and 49 including the bill. So the invitation is on page 14. Our testimony and the bill itself appears on pages 46 through 49. In our testimony, we requested for 415,000 so that it can cover the additional precinct officials.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the commission?
Yeah, just one
Commissioner John.
add-on to this request. I know that, so the precinct official will still get paid at 350 or 500, which one?
So 500, because 350 will come from the local appropriation.
Okay.
And we got approval last month to supplement it with $150 each. So it'll be a total of $500 for each precinct official.
So it'll be 500.
Okay.
Where's the extra funding coming from?
The U.S. Election Assistance Grant?
Oh, okay.
That's a federal grant.
I have a question.
Sure.
Maria, did the senators say whether the bill would be considered in this Friday session?
When I followed up yesterday, I asked if it was already reported out, and they were supposed to call me. I didn't get an answer. Thank you.
Okay, any further questions? Okay, moving on to item D.
Mr. Chair, item D and E, we'd like to look at together. Item D was an email complaint about the name, and we responded. And then item E was a complaint that the candidate wrote, and we resolved it. Her email and the resolution is in the packet with the added, the packet with the add-ons at the back? At the back.
Do you want to elaborate on the
Thank you.
complaint itself?
So the candidate had said that she was not notified about the second line on the ballot. So on the ballot placement drawing, she had she had written a complaint stating that she was not notified. We called her up right away and let her know that it's on the candidate information card, and that we had until, the deadline was until midnight to make sure to confirm and finalize the name to appear on the ballot, and the second line to include if she wanted a slogan, so, or a nickname. So she wrote us back before the midnight deadline, and she told us what she wanted on the ballot.
Okay.
This is candidate Ginger Cruz?
Sir.
Yeah, the first letter was from an individual that was questioning her name, her official name. I guess with the petitions going out under her name, Ginger Cruz, versus what he's asserting is another name, Ginger Elsan. But all the documents that were submitted to the commission as part of the election packet is Cruz, including her driver's license and any. So we responded to the letter that her formal name is Ginger Cruz. Any questions or comments on those two?
Wait a minute, I'm sorry. We responded that her current, we denied the protest.
Right.
Okay.
But it was I guess, an inquiry asking the commission to investigate
No, I
the
get it.
name, and so
Okay.
we did, and based on the items that were filed to the commission, it's all under Ginger Cruz rather than Ginger Elson or Crendon.
Right.
Okay, moving on to item E, I guess that's D and E, right? So item
Yes.
F.
So Mr. Rafael Jarris from International Federation of Election Systems wrote to us asking us to update the information on our elections for the legislature. The request is on page 19. We will update what he had submitted to us. Most of the information is correct. We just have to tweak a couple of pieces out on the Excel spreadsheet.
Okay, any questions?
I'm sorry.
Did we do this
was
last
item
time?
E?
Item F.
Yeah.
E is the
Right.
written complaint.
Yeah. How did we respond to, this was Ms. Cruz's complaint about the font on Crundon? Did
No,
we- And did we address that?
Yes, sir. It's on the add-ons and at the very back.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I didn't see that.
it's on page
Okay.
7. There was two issues. One was the name and then the slogan or the name, so.
And how did we respond to the slogan issue?
She eventually said she didn't want anything.
Okay.
Yeah. And we also told her that it appears right on the candidate information card that they fill out. We cited the law that says they can put in the slogan as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. No questions on item F. So we'll move on to the executive director's report, starting with the 2024 elections timeline.
So the timeline appears on page 20, and the item 1 is about the early voting for the 2024 primary election. So what I would like to do is request approval of an early voting schedule. So we would like to start on July 15th and run it until July 29th for 2 weeks and 1 day, We will open on Monday all the way to Saturday from 10 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock in the evening. That's Monday through Saturday, 10 o'clock to 6 o'clock. So that's about 13 days altogether. I'm sorry, 15 days altogether. Wait, my math is wrong. 13 days altogether. So it'll be July 15th through the 29th. So the 15th is a Monday, all the way to Saturday, and then again the next week. July 22nd is a holiday, but I propose that we stay open as we may catch more voters on the holiday. So we will work Monday through Saturday for 2 weeks and then an additional Monday.
Yeah, that's the Liberation holiday, right? And then,
Right.
so then, yeah,
Yeah. So I'd like, the reason, we looked at our records in the past, in 2008, 2020 and 2022. In 2020, we had 35 days of early voting, but that was during the pandemic, if you remember. In 2022, we had 17 days of early voting, so it's not that much of a difference. And based on the information that we've collected, we believe that, the staff and I believe that we can accommodate our voters on those days. The trend is, the first few days, we don't see very many voters. So the last few days, we doubled the number of voters we service. So we'd like to propose that we do it for the last 2 weeks in July, and then Monday, up until July 29th.
that's the week, that Monday, the week of the, the primary, which is on Saturday, August 3rd, right? So, and it'll be wherever the location that we decide, it'll be Monday through Saturday at that location from 10 to 6. Unlike in the past, I guess, the past election, we went on the weekend, on Saturday, to 3 different
Yeah.
locations.
Yeah, so Mr. Chair, the data we collected for the satellite voting at the 3 regions, North, South, and Central, we saw more voters at the regular early vote center than we did out of the villages.
At the
Hence,
satellites.
yes, hence, we feel that doing away with the satellites may be okay.
Okay.
Maria, I have a question. Why aren't we able to just do the early voting here in office for the 4 weeks that people may be used to from 2020?
The parking is a problem, and we don't have the space. We set up about 8 different stations, 3 stations to handle them when they come in, and then we have different stations to take care of them. We also would like to set up the express votes, so we don't have the space to accommodate all that inside our conference room.
How many express votes machines are you
We
anticipating
want to do
use?
10.
10.
10.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and then, so, so this is 13 days. We're looking at 13 days, Monday through Saturday, and then an additional Monday the week of the primary election from 10 to 6. And it'll be the same location, wherever that location is, we decide to pick. Okay.
Mr. Chair, if I could ask, Maria, how many days of holiday pay is involved in this? Just one?
Just one.
Okay. Do we have the budget for that?
Yes, we do. And we intended to hire our temporaries starting in May. Now we're moving it to June, so we've saved 1 whole month of salaries for 16 temporary folks. Thank you.
Okay. Any, we need a motion for this? So I need a motion to approve the early vote starting July 15th through July 29th, from 10 a.m. in the morning to 6 p.m., Monday through Saturday, and the additional Monday on July 22nd. That's right. Oh, when? 29, I'm sorry, 29. So is there a motion on the floor?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Joe Meno. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Gumatauto. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Abstentions? Okay, the motion carries, so that's the early vote.
The next item on the agenda, sir, is the candidate packets. At this point, we'd like to report that on the nominating petitions. In going through the nominating petitions, as you may know, we go through every signature, and we check for, at this time, we noticed that there were some that looked suspicious. So we had maybe 4 files where we think there was some forgery involved. We spoke with our legal counsel. We're just going to bring it to the table to the commissioners and for you to decide what we do with it. The bottom line, or the piece of information that we'd like to tell you is the staff and I are not signature experts, but we've looked at it and we've seen it before.
Well, could you, just for public edification, could you define what do you mean by suspicious signatures?
There was in one sheet, so there are spaces for 20 signatures on each page. So one sheet, I'm sorry, 20
Lines.
signatures lines
Lines.
for back and front. So 10 on one side and 10 on the other side. So in some of them, there appears like 5, 6, or 7, same signature, same pen. And the other thing that was telltale was that the addresses were about the same as what is on the voter roster. Sometimes what they wrote was general delivery, and that's not something that a regular person would use nowadays. So the general delivery, we're assuming, came from actually the voter roster.
Well, how did general delivery get on the voter roster if it wasn't given to us by the voter?
So the voter could be, we can check some more, but could have registered back in when she or he was 18 years old. And since then, they've updated their address. But the update address is not what's recorded on the nominating petition.
Okay, so just to be clear, when the roster says general address, that was information provided by the voter?
Correct.
And so, I mean, I have no idea, Maria, but on that one point, if the voter puts down general delivery when they sign the petition, that's the same information they put down when they registered to vote.
The problem is there's no
Yeah.
more general delivery for many years.
There is, really? There's
No.
The
none?
post office doesn't do that anymore.
They don't do that anymore. That's why.
So
That's why my checks haven't been coming. Oh, Dad, help. Okay.
Yeah, there's no general delivery anymore. So, I mean,
I
it's,
thought they didn't love me anymore.
yeah. So it could be highly questionable if someone indicates general delivery as the address. And if they follow for the next line, general delivery, then I'm not sure what the commission's authority is in this sense. Does the commission count those signatures going forward? Oh, no. Okay, so those.
Those are not counted.
they were not counted, and then we're required to report that to the Attorney General's office, and it's up to them.
Okay.
I have a question. Does the commission contact these names that are suspicious, that are placed and verify, or is that not what we do?
We didn't contact them. Back, I think, in 2018, it just so happened that two of the forged signatures, one of them was an employee and one was his dad. So that one we knew. But all the rest of the signatures that we're suspicious about, we don't contact them. So with regard to, we contacted the candidates. In one situation, we had to ask the candidates to bring in more signatures.
Yeah, either the candidates or the circulator of that petition, right? Because they have to sign, the circulator has to sign.
The circulator signs the petition.
So how many, what are we looking at to potentially submit to the Attorney General's office? What are we looking at to submit?
We have 3 files here. I think there might be at least 1 or 2 more, maybe, but we'll double check it.
And all those files are suspicious?
Oh, no.
names? Oh,
There's certain pages on them. Yeah, no, then they wouldn't qualify, sir.
Or that, or
Yeah.
we're like,
No.
no different than Colombia.
No, so the,
The other thing that they look at is who the circulator is. And in most times, it's a certain circulator will have those issues and not other circulators, so.
But then the candidate is contacted or at least responsible for.
so we contacted the candidate who needed more signatures. With regard to the other 2 candidates, we didn't, they had enough signatures, so they were not contacted.
Okay. So do you need a motion for that to move?
No, sir, it's just
information for us.
letting me know to forward the information to the Attorney General.
Okay. Okay, any other questions? Okay, Sure.
So we don't contact the candidates before we route these to the Attorney General?
You can, ma'am. We will.
Okay.
We'll contact all the candidates before we route it.
Okay, I think that'll be best.
Yeah.
Thank you.
so we did contact them if they're short, because we don't count those signatures. But if they have more than enough, I guess we didn't contact the candidate, right?
Because they won't count.
But I think if we're going to be submitting these, I think we need to contact the candidates. Just let them know. Okay. Item 3?
So on page 27 is our ballot design, is a sample of our ballot for your approval for the upcoming primary election.
Mr. Chair, I have a motion.
Sure.
So considering, that neither party was able to garner the 15 slots for the senatorial position, in my opinion, that shouldn't deprive the voters of their right to vote for 15. And so I know that the voters are used to having 2 write-in slots in addition to the nominated names. And so my motion would be to add additional write-in ovals so each party can fill the 15 and then give the voters that extra 2 that they're used to. So on the Republican side,
It'll just be
would-
one.
no, the Republican side doesn't lose an oval. It would be, so they would have their 14 nominated individuals, the 2 ovals they're used to and an additional oval to make it a total of 17, but 3 write-in slots instead of 2 for the Republican side. So the Republican side doesn't lose an oval, they get an additional. And then for the Democrat side, 4 write-ins plus the additional 2 the voters are used to for a total of 6. So that would bring them to 17. So both sides would have 17
17.
equal.
Okay, does
Mr.
everybody
Chairman,
understand?
just a quick inquiry, which, I support the motion, however, can the system allow that? Do we have enough space to put in additional ovals and additional write-ins without it being, compressed? That's my concern.
yes.
If you put that much information onto a screen, you're compressing a lot of that data, and it's going to be difficult for the voter to see. So we might be, shooting ourselves in the foot.
You talking about the written ballot or the machine?
The machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Written ballot, I don't think it's going to be a problem. It's going to be the machine, because you got to put all that data on the screen.
Yeah.
And you have side-by-side, information.
I'd have to look, I'd have to check with our vendor. But if you remember, it's 3 columns. So I would think that it wouldn't be a problem even on the express vote, but I can get back to you.
Yeah, my concern again is that the data would be compressed. If it's not compressed and it fits on the screen and it looks good, I have no problem with it. But if you're talking compressed data, and especially for people who are visually impaired, that might be an issue.
Yeah, can you look into that to see? We want to make sure it's,
Okay.
the paper ballot matches.
It's a great idea.
Yeah.
We support it. But, again, we have to be
Okay.
cognizant of people with disabilities, the Manumcos as well.
Okay.
Before we move on, I know what my counterpart is saying, but the question I have here is, if we don't have that number of blank, and then the voters come in and write names down there, right, without the oval, so that's not going to count at all, period, because you have to put in the oval, right? And I know this happened in the past where you have all these candidates, and then only one is marking for the oval, and then they write 3 names down there, and only one count because the others. Now, the machine will reject that, am I not correct?
Machine will not count any oval that's not.
So they could put a name, but
Yeah.
without marking
Yeah.
the oval?
Well, see, that's my question, because if we don't do this, then we're going to have a problem if, too bad it's happening on the Democrat side, but if they have 5 names there, we're going to have problem all night by, doing that if it's not going to be oval shape.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah. It'll
Yeah.
reject, yeah. It'll
So-
reject.
It's a good idea, but we need to look into that, because if we don't want to stay there until the following day at 9 o'clock in the morning now. Because we're coloring that. I know my partner over there, Pat, and I will be doing that a lot.
Also, we would have to color those
Yeah.
ovals in.
So it's a good motion. So can we just look into that? Thank you.
I'd also like to point out, when I was pulling up the, thank you, Colonel Joe, the past ballots, there were 19, 21 candidates. So I'm pretty sure, we could fit this even on the electronic.
Yeah, I think because the machine in the past, you scroll down, like the Democrats were at the top, and so you could add as many as you want.
This one now.
This one now is this
all-
way, but.
yeah.
It's a different
compressed.
machine.
No, it's formatted differently.
It's formatted, because we asked for the machine to look
To be
exactly.
side by
like
side.
that.
So when's our deadline to approve this design?
June 19th is our, you will call the ballot, so we need at least a week before that, and that's cutting it close. So that would be like June 12th.
Can we vote on the motion, and it sounds like we're going to approve it, subject to Maria confirming that we can get the names and the ovals on the electronic ballot?
Yeah.
And then if there's a space problem, let us know, or
Yeah.
reduce by one? I mean, I can't imagine it'd be more than one. It has to be very close if it's over.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree with what Commissioner Sabel was saying. Let's try to vote on the motion first, and then whatever transpired on your research, then get back to us and see what we can do, rather than going around and.
So you can at least start the will
Yeah.
to
Okay.
get this.
So I think I can maybe hopefully condense my motion.
Yeah. Can you restate the
sure.
motion?
Okay. I move to approve the draft ballot design for the 2024 primary election for the Democrat and the Republican, but to give sufficient write-in ovals, adding an additional one write-in oval on the Republican side and an additional 4 on the Democrat side.
I second the motion.
To get to the 15 for both.
To get to the 15,
17.
and then to give
The additional 2.
the additional 2 everybody's used to.
Okay, so a motion by Commissioner Orsini to accept the ballot draft as presented, to add the additional oval, one oval for, write-in oval for the Republicans and 4 for the Democrats, with the additional 2 on the Republican side of write-in oval, and then the Democrat will be the additional 3, right? Or 2? 2. Or a total of 17 on each side. Yeah.
I second the motion, Mr. Chair.
Okay, and there's a second by Commissioner Meno. Any further discussions on that motion? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, if it doesn't compromise the size of the font on the thing, we would go ahead and do it.
That's correct. Yeah. Tell them to find a way to make it work.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item, is that the ratification, right?
Mr. Chair, legal counsel will present on the ratification of our Manila Vice Mayor candidate.
So legal counsel is recognized to present his findings.
So part of the packet that was submitted for the position of Vice Mayor Manilao included a Superior Court of Guam court clearance, as well as a Guam Police Department arrest record. On the Superior Court of Guam court clearance, there was a criminal misdemeanor case that was cited. And so part of what we do is, because it is a criminal misdemeanor, we go and look to determine whether there's a possibility of the crime being, if there, number one, was there a conviction? And if there was a conviction, we look at the complaint to determine whether, as well as the plea agreement, if there was one, or the actual jury verdict, to determine whether the crime committed or convicted of, the person was convicted of, was a crime of moral turpitude. So we've been working with the Superior Court of Guam to locate those records, and so has the candidate. So we heard last week that the Superior Court of Guam does not have any record of the case. The only thing they have is a docket sheet and a card where the file goes. So at this point, we're not able to determine whether we could, I believe the candidate did concede that there was a conviction, but we could not determine what the allegations were and what the conviction was actually for. So without those records, the commission, the staff, and Maria, we could not determine the qualification, and so we would bring that before the commission to determine whether the candidate is able to qualify under the law, notwithstanding there are no records to review.
Okay, so this is the vice mayor candidate position of Manila that we didn't ratify on May 9th. So we have it here today. So I guess absent any record, the commission staff is not able to determine that. But I guess he meets all other qualifications, including signatures and.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
If I may ask, if the candidate admitted that he was convicted, what was he convicted of? Or in his recollection, what was he convicted of?
Yeah, drag racing.
Drag racing. Yeah.
Is that in Manila, the drag racing?
I'm assuming that he didn't assault anyone with drag racing, other than the environment.
Attorney Camacho, do we know when this drag racing happened?
Yeah, it's a
How long
old
ago?
case. I think it was 92, 89.
89.
1989, yeah.
So, I mean,
Okay.
if the candidate's here, then I would recommend that he go before the record and inform the commission of what the allegations were and what the conviction was. So that's on the record, and that they can make a decision whether you go on the ballot.
Okay. So if you can, just come to the front and just state your name.
Hi. Sorry. Hi, my name is Edward J.D. Tosco. I was convicted in 1989 of illegal drag racing without a permit. I paid a fine of $175 and did 40 hours of community service under Mayor Nito Blas, which how I got the job there. So I've been there for 28 years and that's it.
Okay.
I just have one question. Where did this thing happen?
You were correct, sir. It's in the Manila Hawaiian Rock. Back row.
Back row?
You know, the reason why I said that, because I was still GPD when hearing all
Yes,
that.
and the sad part about it, sir, is my uncle who worked under you is the one that arrested me,
Correct.
Officer Larry Castro.
So all
Yeah.
is fair.
Yes.
All is fair, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make the motion to approve Mr. Edward Tosco to be found eligible for Vice Mayor for Mangilao position.
I second the motion.
Okay, so motion by Commissioner Orsini to accept candidate Edward Tosco, Vice Mayor of Manila, for the 2024 election for Vice Mayor of Manila. Is there a second to that motion by Commissioner Jomeno? Okay, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Oppose? Okay.
Mr. Chair, for the record, we want to make sure that we note that he had met all the qualifications for 40108 and 6110. So he met all the qualifications.
And Mr. Tosco, just for the record, you're sorry, right? And
Very,
you won't do it again?
very.
No, that's-
Yeah.
It always comes back.
Okay, so you are qualified to run.
Thank you.
The commission has voted to accept your
Thank you very much.
Back up.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item 5, absentee voting.
So we're starting our report on absentee voting. It's on page 2 of your add-ons. We currently have 48 applications for absentee, 18 for homebound, and the rest for off-island. And so from now on, you'll be receiving the absentee report.
Okay. Any questions? Comments? Moving on to item 6, precinct officials.
I'd like to take that up, sir, with district registrars as well.
Sure.
There was an inquiry about qualifications for both. Number 8, on the add-on packet, there's an application form for precinct official as well as district registrar. Number 8 qualification is something that we'd like to take a look at. That it says that they must not be a director or deputy director of the 3 branches of government, or the 3 branches of government. Is that something, as you all may know, we always have problems, especially with precinct officials. Is it something that could be considered, seeing that it's a non-gubernatorial election? I don't know. It's something we wanted to bring to the,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, Mr. Chair, I think maybe the commission could consider during a non-gubernatorial election that we could allow our people who also happen to serve as directors or deputy directors be allowed to work the election and also be a voter registrar should they choose. And again, only during a non-gubernatorial election.
Okay, so, yeah,
Can
Commissioner.
I just follow up on that? I want to address this to the legal. So can you give us a legal, opinion on this one here?
I can't, this is the first time ever hearing about it, so.
I just want to make sure
Yeah.
that we're on the right.
Yeah.
We don't want to just go ahead and do it and then, something
Yeah, so
comes
does
up.
the law
Yeah.
prevent, prohibit?
Is there a
them
law
from-
that's one?
I'm sorry I did not bring it up with the legal counsel, but it's only a GEC policy.
Oh,
It's in the bylaws of the GEC. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would also say, Mr. Chair, that, having served in these positions, if something should happen at an agency or some, God forbid, something tragic happens on the island,
On the add-on.
you're going to need that director and deputy director to be at their offices. If they are committed to doing the election, they can't get out, and so that's going to be problematic for the agency. I think that's why this is in here. One has to report to the RAC, one runs the agency. And so in an emergency situation, this makes perfect sense that you don't assign a director or a deputy director to be a precinct official.
But if it's in the GEC bylaws, I don't think we're able to make
We're not
that
going to change
change.
that, yeah.
And it wouldn't differ from whether it's a gubernatorial or non-gubernatorial.
But that's what I would, think. That's why you don't have them serve in these positions.
And that's both being a registrar, a voter registrar, and a precinct official.
Yeah.
Yeah. Poll watchers are different, because that's a party issue. Yeah.
So this is part of our rules and regs?
It's, part of the GEC.
Yeah,
rules.
it's
Our bylaws.
we have bylaws, yeah. And then it's also in the election manual.
Yeah.
But just legal counsel was saying the bylaws are considered our rules and regs that would have to go through the AAA process?
Any change, any change to that bylaws would have to go through the AAA process. And I wouldn't want to differ between a gubernatorial and a non-gubernatorial. Election is an election. So, yeah. Okay.
Okay. As part of the precinct official report too, sir, our 2 points of contact for each political party requested that the deadline be extended. So we granted the extension to May 31st for the respective parties to submit nominees for precinct officials. May 31st. Thank you, sir.
Deadline.
Which is next week. But how are we in that recruitment of precinct officials?
I
for the
think we have
primary?
over 100 of the 300 we need. But they are still submitting names. And we have started recruiting in the office, and we've let the parties know.
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing in the community is nobody knows when the primary election is, the date. So we really haven't done our public information yet on the election. I think once that gets out, $500, you're going to have a lot of people that want to be precinct officials. Although our experience in a lot of those precinct officials says never again would I do this for $500, but yeah. Okay. Organizational,
I don't have a report on the organization reports. Those have all been filed as they filed for candidacy.
all right.
On the polling sites.
Polling
sir.
sites.
Okay, so on the add-ons, on page 5 of the add-on. For Jigo, our second biggest village, the FBLG Middle School cafeteria, which Simon Sanchez shares as well, has been closed. The school has been closed. So our staff has gone up to Jigo. We have met with Dominican Catholic School, and they are receptive to hosting us for both the primary and the general. On page 5 are pictures of the school. The first picture is of the school auditorium. It's called Veritas Hall. And then following on page 6, 7, 8, and 9, they're open for us to discuss the terms of renting out that school. We proposed to put in 4 precincts there, and we checked DL Paris too. We had problems with DL Paris, but that has since been fixed. The hallways are now not leaking anymore, and so we propose to have 4 at Dominican Catholic School and 4 at DL Paris for Jigo. In Dedidu, we went to look at Wettingell Elementary. We were there once upon a time, so we want to, the traffic at Okudu High School, when we did 10 precincts there, was not very good. There were bottlenecks. So we want to put 3 polling sites back in Dedidu, Wettingell to take 4, Okudu to take the majority of it, and then we still have Liguan, which we've used in the past. So I'm asking to check if that's. I'm asking for approval to do those polling sites. In addition, my Vice Chair Colonel Mafnes and Commissioner Benny Pinala have asked all the time about Umatak. So on page 5 of the edition, the middle picture is the Umatak Mayor's office. The space is bigger. It's really nice. Do you see it? Oh, good.
Is that you sitting there?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Meeting with the mayor. Yeah.
Or the extension?
So Umatak is good now, sir?
Yes,
Vice Chair and Benny Pinala?
absolutely.
Okay. Those are the 3 polling sites that, Umatak is not new. As you may all know, it's a mayoral election, so every election, primary and general, whether it's non-mayoral, they surrender the control of the office to the Guam Election Commission on midnight of the day of the election, and then they get the control back after the bus leaves, and that's in sign.
It's always been tradition.
Yes.
You just have a larger space now.
Just one, on the Dominican, so we are already geared to have Dominican.
They called me and said they're ready to talk with us they're ready to accommodate us for both the primary and the general.
We'll be negotiating any terms
Yes.
or costs.
You negotiating with them?
Yes.
Okay. The only reason why I ask that is because, it's just upon us. What I'm saying, we need to let the voters know where they're going.
Yeah.
And hence, I'd like the approval so that we can hurry up and let the voters know where we're at.
Especially Okudu, where it's always jam-packed.
Yes.
So
yes.
we have to make them aware, I know
As
it's
soon
not a
as-
gubernatorial race, but still, I don't want to hear complaint that nobody told me that I was supposed to go to this. And
Yeah.
because when I go out, that's a couple of the complaints that I got.
Yeah, so I think the sooner we ratify the polling sites and get the public information campaign out to the voters, at least beginning or before, prior to July 15th, when the early vote starts, and the change in Okudu polling sites to Weddingale, and then the change from FB to Dominican, my 35% turnout is really becoming a reality if we don't
Hurry
push
up,
this public campaign of these changes, right? So these are your proposal, Jigo, going to Dominican, Umanic at the mayor's office because
That's-
they've had the extension, and then adding Weddingale to upset Okudu.
Mr. Chair, in Agate at Ocean View, the commission always sets up resolutions to, for exceptions for the hospitality tents. I received a request, and it doesn't have to be addressed here, but Ocean View is still good. They passed their inspection, but they're requesting that the hospitality tents be put inside where they used to be. We had
Inside the-
inside the property, yeah.
Yeah.
And Colonel, you're familiar with it. yeah.
Instead of outside the report.
Yes.
Okay.
Then I think we've addressed, with that said, we've addressed all the issues that have come up with polling sites.
Okay. So you need a motion to approve this, subject to your negotiations for Dominican at least, right? There's no other negotiations for Umanic or Weddingale. Okay, so any further discussions before we vote on the motion? So motion to accept for the polling sites, the change from FB Leon Guerrero to Dominican Catholic School. That one will be subject to Maria's, the GEC's negotiation with the school. Still keeping Umanic Mayor's office, and then supplementing Okudu with the Weddingale Elementary School in Dededo. Right? Those are the, okay. Is there a motion on the floor to accept those polling sites?
I'll make the motion, Mr. Chair.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Gumatauto. Is there a
I
second to
second.
motion? Commissioner Jomeno seconded. Any further discussions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Okay, polling sites done. Government of Guam retirement, we tabled
Yes.
that last time, right?
Yes, so it's here now. So on page 29 is the certification of votes. We have retiree members Antolina Sanchez Leon Guerrero, George A. Santos for the retiree members, and for the active and inactive members are Artemio Ricardo Uggan Hernandez and Thomas H. San Augustin. There were 4 candidates on the ballot. All 4 received votes, and we'd like to ask the commission to certify the election.
Okay, so we need a motion to certify the 2024 Government of Guam Retirement Fund Board of Trustees election that was held on Saturday, May 4th.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
All those, Commissioner Meno has made the motion. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Commissioner Tony Gumatauta has seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Okay. We just got to sign this form, right?
Mr. Chair, before we move further on, we have this copy that is in front of us about this Micronesia Mall, Tumun Sand, and Western Report. Can we get an update on those?
That's the early vote?
Yeah.
Yeah, for the early
Yeah.
vote.
We were going, yes, that's part of the agenda further back, but I can give it to you now. So no, there were no bids submitted when the invitation was sent out. We followed that with requests for quotations. We sent it out as far as we could in terms of, the hotels and I think the hotels. Then we received 3 quotations. We received a quotation from Westin Hotel, Tumon Sands Plaza, and the Micronesian Mall. The initial quotations were higher than the threshold for small purchases, or it was higher than the 25,000. We went back and let them know that. They came back with a quote that met the threshold. So we took our logistics committee to Micronesian Mall this morning. They've looked at it. We've looked at the 3 commissioners have looked at Tumon Sands Plaza. We have several questions for them to follow up. So, at this point again, we'd like to notify our voters where our election venue is. Unfortunately, I don't have enough information to go with, to let you know that this is the best option at this point. So with Tumon Sands Plaza, they are offering us two different areas, the old Red Lobster and the old Olive Garden. It looks like accessible voting would be okay. We requested again if they would lease to us the space closest to the entrance and exit, so we can put our staff for the accessible voters closest to that point. They haven't answered us about whether they could. It seems like they will. We would ask them about putting in a portable air conditioner, because that's the major problem with that space. So that's a question that that needs to be addressed. Olive Garden is it's a smaller space. The Red Lobster, our look at it says that there are too many
To get there,
dividers.
yeah.
But dividers. As far as the voter walking in, it's really it's really a short walk to the room, but the dividers in the former Red Lobster makes it difficult to set up. Olive Garden is a little smaller, I think, but the setup is such that it may be a better setup, but it's still smaller. I think that's it with Tumon Sands. Yes, and then, that's it with Tumon Sands. With the Micronesian Mall, the space is over by the JP Superstore that used to be. If you enter from the first floor, Ross side, turn left, and it's right by the Foot Locker. It's a smaller space, but it's good. We all know that the traffic is good there, so we may accommodate a few more voters to bring your forecast up. The challenge there again is the accessible voter. There are 2 spaces. We don't know if they're available. We asked today to house the accessible voter staff, and then we will check where it's most efficient. There's a former GTA space occupied and the National Office Supply, and we're asking also for dedicated parking and a designated area to conduct accessible voting. That needs to be answered with them. With Westin, the remaining question is, are they going to give us the same space? They said yes. Are they going to give us the same number of designated parking spaces? The answer is yes, but maybe not in the same area. We don't know, the remaining question is, are we going to get the separate room for accessible voting employees? That question still needs to be answered. Hence, my concern is getting the information out about where the early vote venue is. We have our 3 commissioners that are part of logistics. So I don't know how to handle it at this point, but I would, if you can help me figure out how to best get to the decision and how to best get so that we can notify the voters of where our early voter venue is.
Well, I mean, I think there's 3, you have 3, and I think the commissioners that evaluated that will need to make their top recommendation. It's a recommendation subject to further negotiations, right, and questions that you still have to have answered. But it would seem to me, I mean, we had a lot of flack when it went to Weston 2 years ago, and then eventually it worked out.
Yeah.
It calmed down, but the voters were just completely upset that we were ever in Tuman holding an election. But it showed that it worked well at that election. The other 2, I'm not sure of splitting. The Micronesia Mall is just, it's not easy to get to. You got to go in the mall, and then you got to find the place. Then you're talking about the other portion of that vote, and then the Tuman Sands is not as bad, but you don't have that space if it's Olive Garden. That's a tiny space. So, I mean, I think just based on what you have stated, Weston may be our best bet because we went through it. If they give us everything that we had 2 years ago, all the
So
conditions.
with Weston, it's pending just what was it pending? with
The
Weston?
space for accessible
Accessible.
voting staff
But otherwise, everything else will
is
remain
the
the
same,
same.
yeah.
See, with the Micronesian Mall, there's too many obstacles that we are being faced with. I was talking to Ricky earlier, is that Joe, what happened if the person doesn't want to get down to vote, right? Have to happen, and the parking in front, can park in front there. So in other words, if we're gonna do it on that far side, your people have to walk all the way down that side, and who's securing the ballot and all that? Well, that distance is from point A to point C. And the other thing also is, I know that there's a ramp that goes up, but that's kind of a long ramp to go up to the Micronesia Mall, which is shorter by going the stairway, but if this disabled person can't do that. My concern here is that if the ADF come into play here, we might not meet the requirement of the federal and all that. So that's my only, and then the traffic. You gotta look at the traffic up there because it's a shopping center. And so my concern is for the, people that are gonna vote, so. That's the only
And I guess
concern
the
have.
earlier we decide,
Yeah.
the quicker we can make those decisions, so.
Well, I think Maria still has, a bit of negotiation to do. She's got some follow-ups, and then she can report back to us, and then we can make a decision. Or do we need to make a decision now?
June 20th is the tentative next meeting based on, so I would rather, if you ask me, you make the decision now. Or contingent, of course, on your concerns. If I address that the accessible voting area is available at the West End, would that be okay with you? If Tumon Sands Plaza comes back and has a better layout for us.
Did
Yeah.
Weston give us a time frame when they would respond back to?
So we talked with them today, right after Micronesia Mall, and they're asking me to meet with them on Friday. Or Friday was the earliest they're available.
So that's tomorrow, or this
Day after
Friday?
tomorrow.
Yeah, this
The day after
Friday.
tomorrow.
I think it should be contingent on where we can get the most votes, right?
Yeah.
That's, for me, I think that's the obvious, priority that we should be looking at. Where can we put a site that will attract the most votes?
Well, yeah, I mean, that and it's the accessibility. To me, to get the most votes is the accessibility.
Yeah.
I have a problem holding an election at the Micronesia Mall only because of the traffic. Yes, you have
Yeah, that's what I said.
voters there, but I don't want the ballots going from one place to another place there with people, many people around. I mean, that was already a complaint when we had it at the Westin. We're moving it out of our GCAIC building. So we have to assure the voters that there's some security and confidence level in conducting the
Mr. Chair,
election.
we did did a walkthrough at the Micronesia Mall, and I think for security purposes, I think we can ensure that will happen because as Maria stated, the former JP Superstore, there's a loading dock right outside of that, so that's where they can transport, and to secure the ballots. For the accessible voting site, it would be at the front part, which, we can ensure that GPD will be there to ensure that during the transporting of the ballots into the building and out of the building, that they are secured. But again, it will just be determining when Micronesia Mall will get back to us, should they even allow that section to
What
be
about the
used.
cost for all these three? Where does it land?
It's practically all the same at 25. But, based on our questions that we're going to ask, it may, I don't know if it'll change.
I think Phil Shiragi said that he would be able to provide us some designated parking spaces for our voters, correct?
Yes.
So I think that would be, again, something that would be amicable for me anyways, if you have it right in front of where the old GTA spot is, right? If you put some designated parking
Okay.
spaces there?
Yeah, but the old GTA spot is too small to have in-office voting.
Or then national?
National, the
huge.
problem with National is the line would be outside in the heat,
The hut.
Okay.
right? If you saw that
Right, right.
the inside space is just enough to
National's
set
the
it.
one next to Denny's?
Huh.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's gonna be outside. It's gonna be
but
hot.
that's a huge space.
I'm not sure with my fellow counterparts under logistics, but I think Weston would be more appropriate, considering
just
that
have
we've had.
Yeah, I just have a problem with too many people running around in a space like the mall and you're conducting an election.
Well, a plus size is that they're there.
And they're there, and then you could say,
They
you
can
come and vote.
also, take advantage of the early
It's
voting.
just the
But,
security. of
but
the
on my
ballots.
side of it, I have this funny feeling that I'm for one also. That if I see the parking fill up and all that, I'm not gonna vote. I'm just gonna walk away and all that. So if we're trying to get voters in, and with that kind of situation, I doubt if we're gonna get, and maybe I'll agree with my counterpart here, Jerry, 35% will come out to vote. So, I mean, that's only because I'm looking at, being a traffic officer, this is how I look at it, okay? And this is how these things gonna go. See, when you see a lot of traffic there, I'm going there to vote, I can't find parking, the heck with this, forget it, right? So there you go, and then I might not show up on election day.
They'll
So,
probably designate the parking at the
Yeah.
parking garage, which is a lot of parking.
anyway, that's it,
but
so
it's
I
too
guess,
far.
like, what everybody's saying, Weston will be a good place, but then again,
You
you
know,
guys are the ones gonna.
you know the difficulty that we have
Yeah.
logistically, right? There's no place is going to be perfect. It's not
Yeah.
going to have everything. I think we should again be cognizant of where we can get the most bang for our buck and where it makes the most sense to get the most voters.
Okay, so much for that, so.
So do you want to, you need us to make a decision today
If we can, only,
on a site
know.
subject to, or contingent at least on further negotiations, right? So,
because of the, we can also ask the commissioners if they want to reconvene after the Friday meeting to decide this. I know you're off island, so if that's a possibility or a probability, reconvene the commission after the Friday meeting.
I think, Mr. Chair, I would like to go ahead and put a motion out there to consider having it at Weston. I think, you know, in observing all of the areas, and like Commissioner Penalo said, I don't think we can pinpoint one area that would be perfect. But, you know, to consider that we've had the election before at Weston, and we've heard with the GEC and their staff that it was doable. Of course, we have our people that we cannot totally please, but it provided the space. We were able to conduct a good election, and, the ballots were secured. We were able to accommodate our people with disabilities. I think we should consider that we'll have Weston. And again, that's depending on Maria, and we hope that Weston will accommodate us for the accessible
For the one room.
voting. Yeah.
So there's, Commissioner Meno has made a motion to have the early vote site at the Weston Hotel contingent and subject to any further negotiations between Maria and the Weston for the early voting that begins on July 15th. So there's a motion on the floor to accept the Weston. There's a second by Commissioner Orsini. Any further discussions?
Maria,
Commissioner
the
Sabel?
Weston hasn't committed to us, though. Or have they?
In our conversation today, Commissioner Pat, they said, yes, they can accommodate us, but they have to get back with us with regard to the accessible voting office space. Everything except that.
Okay. Well, is that a deal breaker? If they say, we just can't accommodate accessible voting?
They can accommodate accessible voting.
It's the space.
It's the space to
space.
house the ballots safely. We may be able
Oh, I
to.
see.
Yeah,
I see.
it's just the space. And it sounded like they were going to get back to us. There are potential, what we used last time, and there's something else that it's across the way, close to the entrance exit area. So that's the only thing that, yeah. And again, that's my issue right now with that, with Weston.
Okay, so that's not, if they say no on that, is that a deal breaker?
Probably not, because we can make do with, probably not.
And you're talking about the accessible voting when they vote, you're moving the ballot to a room that's secured rather, and then take it up. Because that was the issue, is voters are seeing, I voted, it went to that guy, and then where did it go? They didn't see him go upstairs to put that ballot, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with GCIC. It was right there in the front, and then they know you're on the second floor. They didn't see anybody go up there. So it's just that security, peace of mind that we need to secure those ballots. So that, any further discussions on that motion for the Weston? Seeing none, then we call for a vote. All those in favor of accepting the Weston as the early voting site for the 2024 primary election, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Okay, so you have the Weston. Go negotiate the best deal. Okay, next item? Monthly voting?
Monthly voter by precinct report and the realignment. Mr. Chair, on the add-on pages, on pages 10 and 11, on page 11 is what was approved by the commissioners. And on page 10, we're proposing that we eliminate one from Inalon And it would look like it'd still be within the guidelines of the law. Excuse me. That's the change. And then we're going to add one to Barrigada. And we originally added 2 to Manila, but instead we only want 1 in Manila.
You're only adding one more in Manila.
Yeah, instead of the 2.
Instead of,
Yeah. So,
And then in Jigo and Dedido, we had added 1 already. So we leave that with the addition of 1 each. So, Mr. Chair, we'll end up with 72 precincts instead of 73.
so we'll go from the past election of 67 precincts to 72 now.
Right.
5 additional.
Okay. Okay, any questions from the commissioners? You need a motion on this one, right?
So you said we're just removing 1 from Nalahan?
Yes.
We're removing 1 from Inalahan, adding
one
1
from
in Barrigada,
One in Manila.
1 in Manila.
1 in Manila, and then, of course, Dedra and Jigo already had 1. What was the reason for Inalahan, removing 1?
Sir, if you look at the current numbers, it still falls within the realm of the law.
Of the law?
Yeah.
1,500.
For the Barrigada, are we adding one or removing one?
No, we're adding 1.
We're just adding 1.
Okay, why does it look less than
4.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5? So it's 5 on the proposed, but, oh, so we have
Yeah.
the lines, okay, got it.
Yeah. Okay. So, is there a motion to accept the changes to the polling?
The proposed.
Yeah, the proposed? Manila was 1.
1.
Adding
Yeah.
1.
No, we're removing 1.
I mean, removing 1 and
Yeah,
adding 1 in Barrigada.
yeah, and moving it to Barrigada.
It's in the proposed.
Yeah.
I move that we accept the proposed.
Changes to the polling sites. Okay, there's a motion to accept the changes to the polling sites. Is there a second to that motion? Second by Commissioner Meno. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Oppose? Okay. Motion carries. Your next item?
Online motor voter and is on page 31. I think that was, we're still getting the numbers. So, and then we go on to the monthly financial report. That's on page 33. Same as the last time, sir, because our meeting was not too far back. The audit, that's the next item, E. Both EAC and I are focusing on our budgets for the fiscal years, so we haven't really closed our audit. Letter F is the financial disclosure statements. We have a list of those that filed and filed extension. As far as full financial disclosure, we had reported that everybody did it timely.
Okay. Any other executive directors report? We'll move on now to old business, campaign finance committee.
Nothing to
No report
report,
on that.
yeah.
Okay, item B, modernization of the election process, the express vote.
Yeah, so I just simply want to ask for the approval to set up 10 express votes at the early vote center.
Okay, so the machine is set up to accommodate the 2 sides. So need a motion to replace the 10 express vote machines at the early vote center at the Westin, beginning July 15th. Is there a motion? Motion by Commissioner Joe Meno. Is there a second to the motion? Commissioner Tony Gumatalto, second the motion. Any further discussions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Okay. Motion carries. Item C.
Nothing more to report, sir. The class will be taught in, starting July 3rd.
Okay. Let's move on to the election security grant.
So we received $400,000 for fiscal year 2022 and 2023. Each of these fiscal years, we were granted $200,000 each. So we
200,000.
received both, yeah.
That's good. Okay. Any questions from the commissioners? No. Okay, let's move on then to item E, the early vote center RFP.
I think that we were discussed that
discussed
already, yeah.
Okay, and item F, the RFP for legal counsel.
The deadline for questions was today. No questions came about. We have yet to receive, we received one from the last issuance of the RFP, and that's it at this time. The RFP was sent out to the Guam Bar Association when it was initially reissued.
Okay, any questions? Moving on then to new business.
Mr. Chair, the hearing was heard, the bill was heard on May 15th. When I followed up this morning, I didn't know if it was going to be discussed in this session. I don't know if it's on the calendar for this session. Not right, yeah. But this morning they said they did not know if it was reported out. So I don't know when the next session is, but I'll follow up again. Oh, and by the way, just so I'll remind you, we requested for $415,000. The original request was $400,000.
415.
Now it's 415,
okay.
yeah.
Okay. Any questions? Item B, the election security grant for 24.
Already
Brady's gave us an
reported,
update
yeah.
on that. Okay, and then item C,
The tabulators, today was the deadline for questions, and one of the questions that came up was the extension, to extend the deadline. I believe one of the reasons they gave us was there's a federal holiday, Juneteenth, I think, so.
Juneteenth,
Yeah, so we extended the deadline and notified everybody that, all the parties involved.
the extension for the questions or the deadline to submit the,
The deadline to submit the bid.
okay. So we're adding, basically what this is, the tabulators. We added new tabulators, I think, 4 years ago. So 4 years ago.
Years ago.
And because we have the monies to purchase additional tabulators to speed up the counting process. That's why we want to be able to modernize these tabulators and get more of them to count more ballots on election night. Okay, moving on to item D, the Guam Ethics Commission resolution.
That was just so that a resolution was passed that we can, that they can accept electronic signing of the FDS and the conflict of interest statements.
Okay. Okay, any other new business items? Moving then to legal counsel's report
There's nothing new to report, Mr. Chair.
on that. Okay, any public comments? Okay, next, we'll move on to the next meeting. Maria, the next meeting on June 20th, right? Yeah, Thursday, June 20th?
I'm sorry.
You won't be back on June 20th.
I
Right.
should be,
Oh, you should
Should be
be.
back.
Okay.
hopefully.
She'll be back.
She'll be back.
Okay, June 20th.
Yeah, so June 20th, we'll hold our next meeting at 5:30.
June 20.
Yeah. Here at the Guam Election Commission Conference Room. Okay, other than that, I entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting. It is, okay, motion by Commissioner Ricky Orsini to adjourn our meeting. Is there a second?
I second the
Second by
motion.
Commissioner Gumatauta. All those in favor? Say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. At 7:04. This is the longest meeting we've had.